Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. We shall proceed to the opening of the closing event for the improvement of court administration in Tunisia, which started from this program that started from 2015 until today. Your Excellency, the Minister of Justice, Tunisia, and His Excellency, the U.S. Ambassador, the INL representative, public prosecutors in pilot courts, the technicians operating in pilot courts, NCSC representatives. We welcome everyone following us on YouTube, either in Arabic or in English. We start with the introduction of the first session of this program. We start with speech by Her Excellency the Minister of Justice, and then a speech by His Excellency the U.S. Ambassador Donald Bloom, and then the representative of the Ministry of Justice and the representative of NCSC, Mrs. Violaine. Your Excellency the Minister of Justice, you have the floor. Your Excellency, the U.S. Ambassador, Mr. Donald Bloom, partners of the Ministry of Justice, representatives of INL, representatives of the International Legal Assistance Consortium, ILAC, representatives of the National Center for State Courts, ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, representatives of the courts, and executive staff from the Ministry of Justice, the honorable attendees. I am honored today to share with you the proceedings of this meeting and to supervise, in association with His Excellency the Ambassador, to really proceed to the closing event for the improvement of court administration, which is financed by the INL, which is under the State Department of the United States, which is implemented by NCSC. The topic of improving court administration in Tunisia is ancient and a novel topic that represents one of the topics that were covered by the action plan, the fifth-year action plan of the ministry dedicated to the reform of the justice system. This program was kick-started in 2013. It is a comprehensive program that included proposals that are ambitious, that stem from the needs of the ministry, and they also focused on a set of priorities as devised by the ministry as major topics in its action plans, and they pertain to the quality of court administration and the right to litigation and to access to justice, in addition to the means of communication between institutions. Your Excellency, the Ambassador, honorable guests, the consecration of effective and efficacious justice ranks high among the priorities of the Ministry of Justice. Complying with the standards of quality is the major driver for the achievement of any economic or social development. And the responsibility of judiciary in development is essential, and its role is key in attracting the trust of investors and public trust in general. The standards for the quality of justice are not just limited to the notions of equity or justice associated with judges and the way they perform their efforts in order to comply with the standards of integrity and impartiality, and to comply with the right to defense and the right to challenge. And it also went beyond the geographical dimension regarding the cost of access to justice and the proximity of justice to cover indicators about the facility to reach the system of justice and to ensure that everybody can access the court proceedings easily. And it also covers the competency of all stakeholders involved in the judicial process, and also along with the quality of the court decisions and the public service provided in terms of assistance and counseling. In view of the fact that the quality standards derive from the foundations that upon which justice rests, and in the end they express an expression of interrelated needs whereby the human factor joins the material and governance factors regarding the appropriate decision makings. Among the objectives set out by the ministry and that it strives to achieve is to improve the management of judicial courts and correctional systems in order to ensure that rights are served for everyone, ensuring that citizens are provided with easy and smooth services, whereby there's a balance between the dual litigation system and the expeditious disposition of cases. Among the projects worked on by the ministry, the consecration of the use of sophisticated technologies to improve the due process of judicial services to facilitate access to information. After the ministry has substituted the ancient system of a network of communication with a high debit system, providing for a high and sophisticated system of communication. Now the ministry is collaborating with the Ministry of Telecommunication to digitize the judicial system with all of its components, including the digitization of court decisions, networking among courts and between courts and the ministry and the correctional facilities, and communication between different ministries, providing also information services with a view to improving the services provided by the courts and to make a qualitative leap in this regard. This program focused on the digitization of the archives. This was put in practice through applications that have been used and provided by technicians working in the courts, whom we thank for their strenuous efforts. This work culminated in the elaboration of an archiving manual that will facilitate the transfer of these techniques from pilot courts to ordinary courts. We also endeavored to digitize data and statistic collection to facilitate their use by the General Directorate and Inspectorate of the Ministry. After entering all the data electronically with an electronic signature, this, of course, will spare effort and time in addition to the expenses pertaining to paper printing and the monthly reporting of reports. In addition to what has been said, the program included several activities pertaining to the establishment of a digitized system of court transcripts, in addition to providing information equipment for the benefit of pilot courts as an effort to modernize working tools and to upgrade the judicial system with a view to achieving the requested efficacy. Your Excellency, the Ambassador and honorable attendees, whenever we start a reform work, we need to determine the needs and also to proceed to an objective and scientific evaluation based on realistic and clear-cut, of course, standards and criteria in order to come up with the best means to achieve efficacy and also effectiveness. Ending up with evaluation, planning, and taking the appropriate decisions, with the need to involve all the stakeholders and to create sustainable communication among the stakeholders and to lay down the appropriate foundation for dialogue in order to reach out to the best possible solutions. Concern and dedication of interest to the litigants and to all involved in the judicial process is a necessity, because the litigants are not just the negative users of the services, because their satisfaction is now an important element determining the level of quality of the services rendered, and one of the prerequisites to achieve the goals of our reforms. For this purpose, most of this program focused on the improvement of judicial and academic knowledge for the users of the justice system, and to improve access to information, be it through the dissemination of forms and manuals that are likely to facilitate, of course, case initiation, or through the use of the modern technical means through commercial messages that are provided at the halls of the courts concerned with these experiences. In this regard, we also activated and implemented the system of rapporteur-judge through training programs and awareness-raising programs with a view to ensuring better efficacy in the management of cases by saving time and reducing case disposition time. We also endeavored to upgrade the management of courts through, the distribution of workload, and by providing tools to measure the judicial workload based on the statistics that are available to the courts. Work on the different pilot projects proved that there is a spirit of innovation and initiative on part of the judges, the executive staff, the technicians and the clerks operating the courts, and responsiveness on part of all stakeholders operating the judicial process by really subscribing to these initiatives that make us very optimistic about the success of this program. We have implemented this program with a high degree of success, and it has been concretized on the ground of reality through field visits to the pilot courts that have been selected based on a balanced geographical distribution in view of the circumstances of the courts and based on the circumstances of the country in general. Despite the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have completed the activities of the program using the audiovisual means to ensure the training programs are conducted in all fields of activities that are meant to facilitate work through the courts and to upgrade the quality of the services provided to the litigants. As I commend the results achieved thanks to the efforts exerted in this regard, I'd like to renew my thanks to the INL and the financing party of this program, which is represented in your person, Your Excellency, the Ambassador, and NCSC, that has supervised implementation of the program. My thanks also go out to all representatives of the court who were affiliated in this program and who contributed in its success. And I seize this opportunity to express our interest and gratitude to the efforts exerted by all those who took part in this program, reassuring them of the great success of this program despite the limited resources sometimes. I would like to thank them for we are of course willing to hear any of the constructive ideas that are likely to improve the performance of the activities that are planned in this regard. Pending further recommendations from this meeting that the Ministry will react to positively, I wish you fruitful proceedings, and may God's peace and benediction be upon you all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Now I'd like to give the floor to His Excellency the Ambassador of the United States, Mr. Donald Bloom. Good morning. We are here today to mark the end and celebrate the many accomplishments of the Improving Court Administration projects. It's a collaborative program between the Ministry of Justice and the United States, and the fund reached about $2.5 million and over a period of 5 years. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Mr. Hasna bin Sliman, the acting Minister of Justice, for her kind invitation, as well as Mr. Mohammed Salah Sabri, Chief of Staff and the head of the Ministry's International Cooperation Office, Judge Raja Busama, and her team in the Ministry. Special thanks is extended to the Minister's General Inspection and Statistics Department, and the general and the judges, prosecutors, clerks, and court administrative staff working at the model courts. Their participation was vital to bring to fruition the truly noteworthy accomplishments of this project. I would like equally to extend my thanks to the NCSC team, this team who was the linchpin for ensuring the project's success. When the Tunisian people carried out their revolution in 2011, they made a commitment to democracy, transparency, and rule of law. Our ceremony today showcases our two countries' cooperation towards achievement these principles. Since 2012, the United States has committed over $22 million to support the Ministry, the Justice Ministry's efforts to improve the judicial system. So the work started 5 years ago in 8 courts in Ariana, Bizerta, Kef, Sousse, Tozer, Gafsa, and Tunis, who served as incubators to test innovations and new working methods. Besides, the program included developing guides and standard operating procedures for uniform operations, as well as the use of technology for a greater efficiency and transparency in the court service provided to the public. For your own knowledge, in this framework, we have provided 500 computers and other office equipment. These changes helped build organizational capacities, improve communication with litigants, and expand collaboration within the courts and outside them. I would like to share an example to highlight how meaningful these changes have been. The courts used to submit monthly paper reports to capture cases and caseload statistics. The preparation was very labor-intensive and took many hours. In fact, as you know, the amount of paper required when lined up was 65 kilometers long every month. And now, with technology, these reports have become digital, and the ministry receives them immediately. This has largely contributed to saving time and resources and preserving the environment. The United States has also donated video conferencing equipment in order to connect Tunisian courts and prisons, and has set up a new system of remote courts. This equipment has also facilitated the virtual hearing sessions and facilitated continued work in courts despite the epidemiological situation. Harnessing technology has led to many improvements in Tunisians' access to justice. The program organized dozens of training courses to familiarize participants with new procedures for court administrations and to improve court litigants' relations. I thank all the cadres and employees who came from 145 courts to take advantage of these courses. We have led together the foundation for a modernized court administration. As improvements and reforms continue, the United States shall remain a steadfast friend and partner with Tunisia. Bravo and congratulations for all these accomplishments. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Raja Bousemma to speak about the cooperation between the INL and the Ministry of Justice and with the collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the State Department. I didn't touch it.
Good morning, everyone. Will the minister stay longer? Are you just staying, Your Excellency? Okay, will you stay longer? I welcome everyone. I'm very honored to have you attend our presentation. I apologize for speaking in French. With due regard to Mrs. Violaine, the representative of NCSC, since we have translation from Arabic into English, allow me to speak in French. My presentation will not be focused on the activities of the programs and the outcome achieved. This will be the task entrusted to Mrs. Violaine, but I will focus on the general framework and the planning of activities and that have been carried in 5 years.
Why am I speaking about approach? I will speak later because it has succeeded and it represents an efficacious means of adaptation. Speaking about the general context is, of course, the reform of the judicial system. It is good to remind you that the brainstorming about this reform started in 2011, and the Ministry of Justice succeeded to implement a strategy for the modernization of the judicial system and penitentiary system and the institutional and legislative reform. And then following a consultation, national consultation in 2013, a strategy has been elaborated and then translated into the current plan of action, which covers the period 2016-2021, and it has been decided to extend it to 2021. Let me remind you the contents of the reform. It is founded on 5 pillars, namely the independence and the automation of the judiciary power, an ethic system, the quality of justice and the protections of the litigants, access to justice, and communication and partnership between the judiciary and penitentiary institutions. The main goal is to improve the quality of justice and the services provided in order to satisfy the citizens and to change his ideas about justice and to achieve a better perception of the judiciary and to trust this system. So better quality means efficiency at the same time and efficacy. And therefore, the needs seek to improve governance and seek the better management of the institutions concerned, while taking into consideration their means to achieve the result, in addition to a good selection of the tools, which requires a better management of the stock, the management of the hearing sessions, digitalization of the system, improving the communication system, and a better cooperation with the different stakeholders, and a better access to justice. Having said this, the final goal is to improve the perception of the judicial. Consequently, it's not a matter of meeting the needs, but we needed equally to meet the expectations of the litigants and gain their trust and confidence. And this can be done through facilitating access to justice and improving the quality of the services provided to the litigants and the users of the judicial, including the need to improve the working tools and the management tools of courts. The program which was suggested by NCC and ILAC and INL, concentrated essentially on the consolidation or capacity building, the organizational capacity of people in charge of the courts, as well as training of the magistrates and court clerks. The goal of the program is to improve the efficiency, accessibility, and the reactivity of the judicial system. I would like to remind you here that an assessment and an evaluation of the system proceeded in 2015 and identified the inefficiencies and the shortcomings which constitute a stumbling block to a better, quicker access to judicial. Following this assessment, the number of cases increases every year, whereas it's not the case for the number of other cases. The training of courts has stopped in 2011, and the training aiming the courts has been reduced. Also, the budget allocated to the courts are not enough to meet the needs of these required services, as well as the absence of a code for the judges, the court clerks, and no disciplinary procedures elaborated or used practically speaking. So the identification of the needs, there were three essential needs: the institutionalization of our working methods for a better quality, the improving of accessibility to the judicial system, and the implementation of a better collaboration and communication between the institutions. These three needs have been identified, and these are linked to the goals on which the Ministry of Justice concentrates its efforts. The improving of the administration and management of justice, of courts, is based on three axes, three of the five axes of our plan of actions: the quality of the judicial system, access to justice, and communication, as well as partnership. The working sites are the pilot courts. The working methodology was based on the pilot courts. Visits have been carried out to the courts, as well as the setting up of a brainstorming committee or working group, working meetings in order to improve the situation and decide the points of action, the determining of goals in the light of the means available, the preparation of project cards, the discussion and the validation of the cards at the level of the Ministry of Justice, of plan of action, and the follow-up and evaluation on a termly basis of results.
We have 8 pilot tribunals. At the beginning there were 6 from Ariana, from BZ, the appeal court of El Kef, the appeal court of Sustu, the appeal court of Toza, and later there have been the appeal court of Gapsa and the district court of Tunis. So what were the upsides of these pilot experiences? These pilot projects are designed to be incubators to provide working tools that have an impact on the efficacy of the justice system and to ensure better access to services provided. Theme 1, quality of the judicial system based on the 2 facets of performance, that is efficacy and efficiency. When I refer to quality, I refer to quality as perceived internally and externally. Theme 1 pertaining to quality will take the bulk of this presentation in view of the different aspects it covers, the actions undertaken to national reforms in the computerization and the capacity building at the regional level of the justice system, the rationalization of statistics, the presentation of data in order to ensure productivity of the tribunals. This is work that has been based on relevant statistical data and the dashboards, and based on the, of course, the management structures within the tribunals. And CSC was inspired by the good practices tested in the pilot courts and the good practices that were experimented with in many pilot tribunals. This is to standardize the compilation and collection of data to reduce workload that is incumbent of those who are in charge of monthly reports, and to ensure compatibility of the data produced by each court, to use the Excel format to ensure automatic calculation and data analysis. So the Excel system has been developed, and the transfer is done electronically with the electronic signature at the regional level and at the level of the General Inspectorate. There has been a survey on workload and the analysis of judicial work to better manage the staff involved in judicial work, and work has been done regarding the capacity building in the field of the management of cases, in the field of communication and information system for a better service provided. The second pillar of this theme, the management and the security of files by the reinforcement of the tools for the monitoring and control of files, the development of an organizational application for archives that facilitates classification and research. I'd like to pay tribute to the ICT technicians and archive administrators who did a great job in this regard, and that started from the appeal court of Gafsa and the appeal court of Tozeur, and that was generalized and disseminated to other pilot courts, and then the elaboration of a practical manual comprising the archiving steps in order to generalize and disseminate this experience. I earlier mentioned the approach used that turned out to be very useful for the appeal courts. We counted on local skills and capacities, and we knew how to incentivize them in order to create and innovate in their field of expertise through think tanks, exchange networks, through training, training of trainers programs. This work has proved to be very fruitful. The third pillar of this topic is the reactivation of the judge rapporteur task to clarify the role of the rapporteur judge, and there was an evaluation conducted, and it showed that the use and the reuse of this system has had a positive impact on the workload and better collaboration with experts and lawyers, and led to a reduction in the time of file processing. The fourth pillar of this first topic of the management of data and computerization through the development of a training program and a manual for the users to optimize the use of ICT tools, the standardization of ICT data collection, and the optimization and the use of applications. The second topic on which we worked, which is accessibility to justice. We worked on the relationship with the litigants, and through the development of a series of information and awareness-raising documents of the citizens. We provided folders and sheets on these work, the development of a litigants manual, and a training cycle for the reception and the guiding of litigants. With regard to theme 3 about communication and partnership, we developed means of collaboration at the intra-institutional level between the Ministry of Justice and the courts, and within the courts. We facilitated the interface between the clerical staff and the litigants by providing posters and leaflets and many flyers in order to help litigants know more about their rights. So I used this picture in the opening seminar in 2017 to express my fear about the topic of communication and collaboration between the different institutions, given the cumbersome task of communication and the time entailed to adapt to change. Sometimes we don't realize the time and energy saved and money saved when we use these ICT and sophisticated techniques, and experience proved that accepting to take part in the experience makes us convinced and ready to adopt the solutions proposed. I think that COVID-19 incited us to speed up certain reforms and to adapt to new working methodologies, especially in connection with the use of ICT technologies. Having said that, I understand that from outside we do not perceive a great change or a great improvement in terms of the quality of the justice system, but a friend who is dear to us and who is following us, that an elephant can be eaten by small pieces, and that we have to be patient while preparing for the road of success by better organizing our work and by setting the priorities. That is why, being aware of the limited resources, we are required to really be ambitious, but not too ambitious, and to count on our capacities and on the help of our partners. All my congratulations to the Ministry of Justice, especially for the General Inspectorate, for the efforts and strenuous efforts exerted for the successful program. My congratulations for the technicians of the courts, the clerical staff, the regional directors. My gratitude to INL, who has been a great partner, who has monitored all of the activities. My thanks go out to ILAC and CSC for the choice of the approach and for helping us succeed in these projects. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I would like to extend our thanks to His Excellency the Ambassador of the United States and the Minister. Your presence amongst us is a tangible proof about the efficiency of this program and for the laying the foundation and the cornerstone for the improvement of the judicial system in Tunisia. Thank you very much for your presence. Now, we'd like to listen to the representative of NCSC, the director, to speak about the results of the Improving Court Administration in Tunis program. Thank you. Good morning. It's with great pleasure that I address you. And the previous papers highlighted the active participation and the contribution of the pilot courts at the ministry during the last 5 years. On behalf of NCSC and ILAC, I would like to thank you very much for your presence today. And I'm going to show you some results briefly. Since the time earmarked to me is short, I will be speaking about a few results of the improving of the judicial in Tunisia. First of all, I would like to start with some figures. Sometimes we need to speak about the essential elements. This program is what we call figure number 5. 5, which means 5 years of work and 5 manuals that have been developed by magistrates and court clerks. The court clerks of the district courts, the archive. Then we have figure number 8. It's the number of pilot courts which have been selected in joint collaboration with Ministry of Justice as focal points to implement the innovations. And I will be speaking later on about this pilot projects and their diversity. From geographical diversity as well as judicial diversity. 21 is the number of tools used, which constitute a kit of the litigants, a kit aimed at informing the litigants about the functioning of the courts, their procedures, the different processes in terms in the civil and the penal sector. This is a guide as well as posters, which shows the cycle of the civil and penal cycles. So there is also a selection of video programs. They will be shown to you during the coffee break, and we will be giving you all these video programs. on the memory stick. Then we'll be speaking about the 16 project cards. This is a tremendous project to reach these tangible results. We already reached 100% achievement because improving performance and quality is something continuous. Once we reach a goal, new goals emerge, and we need to work on them in order to move ahead. 123 appeal courts, district courts, land state courts use now an application tested and used by the pilot courts, and they represent 85% of the courts in Tunisia, and we hope to reach 100% of all courts coverage. 1,800 is the number of magistrates and clerks who took part in training courses in the frame of this program. The pilot courts are quite different. As it has been mentioned, in the beginning we started with 6 courts. The selections was not made just like this, but we tried to strike a balance between the courts of Tunis and the coastal area, as well as the central area and the hinterland. This balance was very important in order to have diversity of needs and points of view, not only the needs of the courts, but the needs of the litigants, which vary from one area to area and condition to conditions. In 2017, we introduced the Court of Appeal of GAFSA and 2 units, the different units to adhere to this program. This enabled us to examine the link between district courts and courts of appeal. And then we added the District Court of Tunis to ensure that the program covers 3 areas, namely, since the problems vary from one region to the other. These courts worked on 6 cards or points. The relation with the litigants, the internal organization, the management of the hearing sessions, the management of the archives, and digitalization. These cards have been developed and established in joint collaboration with the Ministry of Justice. In 2016, we worked, or we moved to the various sites and different courts involved in this program. At the end of this program, the implementation rate was 88%. I would like to congratulate you for all the work that has been done. Sometimes it is when they are in the heart of this work, you think that we will never succeed. It will require a lot of reforms, a change of practices and other tools to move ahead. And yet, we become aware when we analyze the work that has been done already, the enormous progress that has been already made, and the dynamics to improve continuously the system. And this has been implemented and highlights new ideas in the different courts. The PELT projects is a space of collaboration and exchange of expertise and points of view. The program created a multidimensional space. An internal collaboration was created within each court, and it led to the establishment of management cells in order to facilitate the decision making in a collegial way. This management cells was equipped and activated by training courses for the management of risks and the management of crisis. And this will continue until 2021, despite the pandemic. This internal collaboration enabled also facilitated the implementation, a cell and a unit of continuous training in the GAFSA and KEF courts, and training cells in computer sciences in certain pilot courts. Another collaboration between the courts bring together the magistrates, computer sciences, and court clerks according to the topic within working groups who started brainstorming sessions to speak about the management of the archive, the rapporteur judge, and so on and so forth. And together we developed manuals which have been shared with the other courts and which will reach you during the next weeks. This also constitutes areas for the exchange of points of view at the bilateral and multilateral level. And during these workshops, we assessed the approach, we assessed the working methodologies, the suggested solutions. We thought about also new solutions and to be equally shared with the inspectorate. This external collaboration equally led to the exchange of expertise between the magistrates, Tunisian magistrates and American magistrates, to identify the type of exchanges that can be beneficial. Last but not least, there was an institutional collaboration between the pilot courts and the Minister of Justice, which led to the validation of some practices. As for concerning the archiving of files, has been partially generalized and extended to other courts in addition to the pilot courts, and we wanted to extend this expertise to other courts. This constitutes the first generalization of the pilot initiative, which started at the pilot courts and extended to many other courts, and this is something of which we are very proud collectively. This space was equally a space of innovation. The courts, as we said before, have served as incubators in order to identify the solutions and test innovative approaches which have been duplicated. We established the dashboard in each court, which was used as tool to provide instant information to the court judges and the human resources available. A ticket system was equally implemented in order to manage the flow of cases in a flexible in a way. The development or in order to provide better information to the litigants. This is in addition to implementing the role of the what we call a the keying of the information in real time. This will lead to the printing of the files in real time. This, in addition, the development and the trying of the different application for the management of hearings. This has been done in 7 courts already, in addition to the management of archives in 14 courts and statistics application established also in many other courts. Innovation and reform leads to the change of practices and working methodologies. It's actually women and men who use them daily, which make them live, and to ensure the institutionalization and their use in a sustainable way. Acknowledging the importance of the human factor in the success of implementing the reforms, we developed tools in accordance to the needs of our human resources. 3 studies of the workload have been carried out in appeal court, the first instance courts, the defining models for the determination of the allocation of magistrates to courts. This guide also are available. You can see them here or examine them here, and they have equally been sent to all the courts which are concerned recently. And this guide concerned the rapporteur, judge, the management of the archives, the court clerks, the district courts, etc., etc. 98 training sessions enabled us to build the capacity of the workers in terms of communication, management of files, and crisis management. 608 clerks have benefited from training in the use of computer tools in order to help them evolve towards a more digitalized world. Last but not least, we carried out brainstorming operations about the themes of the digitalization of the judicial interoperability of the judicial system. The challenges that the judicial system meets are universal, and they are rather intricate and complex. Among them, we can mention the delay of the processing of the files and the delaying also of hearing sessions. A number of magistrates and clerks, no matter how numerous they are, it will not be enough to process all the files. In addition to this, the use of the IT, or the lack of the use of IT, is also another stumbling blocks. The litigants complain about the judicial system and do not understand fully what is happening within a court and why the procedures take so much time. Our 5 years of collaboration with the Ministry of Justice and the pilot courts enabled us to define strategies which will enable us to overcome the stumbling blocks and to suggest sustainable solutions. First of all, we needed to involve the justice stakeholders in the daily management. They are the ones, I mean, the magistrates, the clerks, archivists, computer specialists. These visible and invisible people who are part and parcel of the digital are the ones who detain the key to the solution of the problems we encounter. So we have to be tuned to them, give them the necessary space to express their ideas and contribute to the to development of solutions to meet the challenges and the problems that are daily met. So to establish collaboration dynamics and exchange and innovative approach needs the involvement of all the stakeholders of the justice ecosystem in order to identify the most adequate solutions and the most efficacious solutions to create this space of collaboration and exchange of opinions, which will undoubtedly facilitate the creation of tangible, effective solutions. We equally need to invest into capacity building. This is a prerequisite for sustainable reform. So to make sure that the stakeholders are better tooled to perform their daily course. Digitalization provides new opportunities to work in a more rapid way, in a more intelligent way. But at the same time, it requires the acquiring of new knowledge from the digital world for real transformation of the judicial. We have to be tuned also to the litigants, which is very, very important in order to move and to make progress. This will enable us to make sure that the institutions meet their needs and implement the necessary mechanisms for a better, positive experience of the judicial system, regardless of the outcome of the case filed. Last but not least, it is very important to enable the young to participate. The future justice is built not only with the actors of today, but with those who are going to join the magistrates tomorrow and will be the future clerks as well. The involvement of the young graduates and the students in awareness raising campaigns will bring in new views, new methodologies, and will ensure the involvement of the future generation for a better, more equitable justice. By way of conclusion, I would like to extend my thanks to the Minister of Justice and the pilot projects. I would like to thank you very much for your confidence, for your trust, and the friendship relations that we have woven during the last 5 years. And we hope that thanks to this program, you have acquired new ideas and new tools which will enable you to continue the reforms underway. I thank you very much. I would like to thank also the INL for its trust and confidence during these 5 years. Thank you very much. Thank you. We will move now to the certificate ceremony of model courts. Representatives from the Ministry of Justice. I'd like to call upon Mr. Riyad Sid, General Inspector at the Ministry of Justice, to come here to distribute the certificate ceremony. The representative of INL also please join us. Court of Appeal in Le Kef. Court of First Instance of Ariana. The Court of First Instance of Bizerta.
نجي المولى شعنا الرميز تاع الواحد. We now hand over the certificates to the representatives of the Ministry of Justice, Mr. Ziad Dridi, the representative of the Ministry of Justice, Mrs. Mariam Hwidi, Mrs. Mariam Hwidi, Mr. Sadaq Werfili, the General Manager of Statistics, or his or her representative, Mrs. Mariam Hwidi, or her representative, Mr. Abdeltif Karra, representative of the General Inspectorate of the Ministry of Justice. Mr. Ahmed Rizgi from the General Inspectorate. Mrs. Emel Qouba from the Department of International Cooperation within the Ministry of Justice. We now move on to the delivery of certificates for the improvement of court administration, the team of INL. The National Center for State Courts, represented by Violaine. The International Legal Assistance Consortium, represented by Mr. Salim Abdeslam. We move on now to a 15-minute coffee break, and then we shall resume the concluding.
برشا ناس في المحكمة.
فما شكون جاي عنده قضية ولا طالب خدمة إدارية، وفما شكون جاي باش يشهد في قضية، وفما محامين وخبراء وأمنيين.
واللي ورا شبابك شنيا خدمتها؟
هذوكم كتبة المحكمة وهما ركيزة العمل القضائي. مهمة كاتب المحكمة الإرشاد والتوجيه، تقبل الشكايات والدعاوى، إعداد ملفات القضايا وتسجيلها، رقم الأحكام، أرشفة ملفات القضايا بعد الفصل فيها، وكل واحد حسب اختصاصه.
وينهم القضاة؟
فما اللي في بيرواتهم وفما اللي في قاعة الجلسة اللي باش ندخلوا لها توا.
شكون اللي في قاعة الجلسة؟
الجلسات المدنية تتكون من رئيس الدائرة ومستشاريه وهما قضاة، محامين أطراف القضية، كاتب الجلسة والحاجب. أما نحن اليوم دخلنا الجلسة جزائية نموذجية تهم قضايا الحق العام، وتتكون من رئيس الدائرة والأعضاء، ممثل النيابة العمومية، محامين الأطراف، كاتب الجلسة، الحاجب والأمنيين.
كيفاش تتمثل مهمتهم؟
أنا رئيس دايرة، مهمتي هي درس جميع جوانب القضية، سمع جميع الأطراف، نجم نطلب إجراء اختبارات اللازمة، ندرس وسائل إثبات، شهادة الشهود باش نتمكن من الحكم بصفة عادلة ونزيهة.
والمرأة اللي قاعدة على إيصال القضاة شنو مهمتها؟
أنا كتبت الجلسة، عندي مهام إدارية ومهام تتعلق بتنظيم الجلسات، تتمثل في تدوين ما يقال في محضر الجلسة اللي يقوم بإمضاؤه رئيس الدائرة. أنا محامية ومهمتي هي الدفاع على موكلي ومساعدته في تحضير الوثائق اللازمة اللي تثبت حقوقه بالاستناد للقانون.
وش يعني وعاون الشرطة في المحكمة؟
يقوم الأمنيون بتأمين الجلسات باش تنعقد في أحسن الظروف ومن غير مشاكل أمنية. وفما متداخلين آخرين في العمل القضائي ويتسموا مساعدو القضاء.
أنا عاد المنفذ، مهمتي هي إجراء المعاينات، الإعلام بالأحكام الصادرة والقيام بإجراءات تنفيذها بطلب من الطرف اللي صدر الحكم لصالحه. أنا عاد الإشهاد، مهمتي هي كتابة كل حاجة تسعى السلطات والأشخاص لإثباتها بحجة رسمية، كما العقود، إجراء الاستجوابات، تحرير الفرائض باعتماد حجج الوفيات. تقوم المحكمة بتعيين الخبراء في القضايا اللي ما ينجم القاضي يفصل فيها إلا بعد أخذ رأي الخبير الفني في موضوع القضية، وكل خبير واختصاصه، ويختلف اختصاص الخبراء حسب موضوع القضية. مهمة المترجم هي ترجمة الوثائق من لغة أجنبية للعربية، وتتسمى ترجمة رسمية خاطرها معترف بها من المصالح الإدارية بتونس. ويمكن زادة ترجمة الوثائق من اللغة العربية إلى لغة أجنبية باش يمكن اعتمادها من الإدارات والسلطات الأجنبية.
ونستحقوا برشا متدخلين في العمل القضائي لتحقيق العدالة.
انا وراجلي ما عادش متفاهمين، نهار الكل عارك واسمع يلي ما تسمعش والقدر طاح. شنو الحل؟
كيف العلاقة الزوجية ما عادش تنجم تتواصل لأي سبب من الأسباب، القانون التونسي يسمح للزوجين باش يطلبوا الطلاق، أما لازم احترام إجراءات ونتائج هالطلب في كل نوع من أنواع الطلاق.
وقديش فما من نوع متاع طلاق؟
فما 3 أنواع للطلاق، وهي الطلاق بالتراضي، الطلاق للضرر، والطلاق إنشاء. الطلاق بالتراضي يعني الزوج والزوجة يتفاهموا ويوافقوا الاثنين على الطلاق وعلى نتائجه، ويكتبوا عريضة مشتركة في طلب الطلاق بالتراضي.
وشكون يكتبها العريضة؟
يكتبوها وحدهم ولا بمساعدة محامي.
وفيش يتمثل الطلاق للضرر؟
الطلاق للضرر يعني إذا كان الزوج ولا الزوجة لحقهم ضرر بسبب العلاقة الزوجية، الطرف المتضرر عنده الحق باش يطلب الطلاق بشرط تقديم دليل على حصول هالضرر.
شنو ينجم يكون هالدليل؟
يلزم يكون هالدليل قانوني. مثلا إذا كان الضرر عنف جسدي، الرجل يضرب مرته، يمكنها تقديم شهادة طبية ولا شاهد شافه وهو يضرب فيها، ولا تقدم حكم جزائي يثبت العنف الجسدي إذا كان هالحكم موجود. المهم إنه الطرف المتضرر يلزم يقنع القاضي اللي هو تعرض بالحق للضرر حتى يحكم القاضي بالطلاق لهالسبب.
باهي، والطلاق إنشاء؟
الطلاق إنشاء هو كيف الزوج ولا الزوجة يطلب الطلاق من غير موافقة الطرف الآخر ومن غير ذكر الأسباب، وفي الحالة هذه الطرف اللي ما يحبش يطلق عنده الحق باش يطلب تعويض مادي أو معنوي.
وفيش يتمثل التعويض؟
هو تعويض عن الضرر المادي كما فقدان مستوى العيش اللي كان الطرف اللي مش موافق على الطلاق عايش فيه في ظل العلاقة الزوجية، وإلا الضرر المعنوي اللي يتمثل في الإحساس بالحزن والوحدة والخيبة الناتجين على الطلاق. أما كل أنواع الطلاق عندها إجراءات يلزم احترامها.
وشنية هالإجراءات؟
فما 5 مراحل يلزم تمر بها القضية في الطلاق. المرحلة الأولى هي تقديم عريضة طلب طلاق لقاضي الأسرة في المحكمة الابتدائية اللي بدائرتها مقر الزوج ولا الزوجة. المرحلة الثانية هي إعلام الطرف اللي ما طلبش الطلاق بالعريضة عن طريق عدل المنفذ اللي يلزم يسلمها للمعني بالأمر شخصيا وين يسكن، وإذا كان ملقاش الطرف الآخر شخصيا العدل المنفذ ينجم يقدم هالإعلام عند مركز الأمن. أما ردوا بالكم، راهو كل تلاعب في تبليغ هالعريضة يعرضكم العقوبة بالسجن تنجم توصل للعام. المرحلة الثالثة تتمثل في محاولة الصلح وتتم في مكتب القاضي الأسرة اللي يحاول باش يصلح بين الزوجين ويعاونهم باش يتجاوزوا خلافاتهم باش يحافظوا على العلاقة الزوجية.
وقديش تدوم هالمحاولة الصلحية؟
إذا عندك أطفال عمرهم أقل من 18 سنة يلزم 3 جلسات صلحية، بين الجلسة والجلسة شهر. إذا كان ما عندكش ولاد ولا كانوا ولادك بلغوا سن الرشد فما جلسة صلحية واحدة، وينجم القاضي يكتفي بجلسة صلحية واحدة في الطلاق بالتراضي حتى لو كان الزوجين عندهم أطفال قصر. والصلح راهو ينجم يتم في أي مرحلة من مراحل قضية الطلاق، حتى قدام محكمة الاستئناف وإلا التعقيب.
وكي ما ينجمش قاضي الأسرة الإصلاح بين الزوجين؟
في الحالة هذه ياخذ القاضي بعض القرارات الفورية حتى من غير ما يطلبها الأطراف.
وفيش تتمثل هالقرارات؟
تتعلق بالحضانة ومنحة السكن والنفقة وحق زيارة الأبناء. والقرارات الفورية هذه يكتبها قاضي الأسرة في محضر الجلسة الصلحية بخط يده ويقوم بإمضائها ويلزم تنفيذها فوريا.
نجمش نطعن في هالقرارات؟
لا، مش ممكن، أما تنجم تطلب مراجعتها قدام قاضي الأسرة، ويمكن للأطراف باش يتفاهموا على قرارات تخالف قرارات قاضي الأسرة، أما بشرط من غير ما يمسوا بحقوق الأبناء القصر كيما حق الزيارة ولا حق النفقة.
وباقي المراحل؟
المرحلة الرابعة في قضية الطلاق تتمثل في فترة تأمل، وهي فرصة ثانية تجي بعد المرحلة الصلحية يعطيها القانون التونسي للزوجين باش يحافظوا على العلاقة الزوجية وعلى العائلة، وتدوم هالفترة شهرين قبل مرحلة المرافعة. المرحلة الخامسة اللي هي الجلسات وصدور الحكم، وتتمثل في جلسة مرافعة وبعدها جلسة النطق بالحكم في خصوص طلب الطلاق. وراهو حكم الطلاق قابل للاستئناف والتعقيب، أما القرارات الفورية لا.
لازمني نكلف محامي في قضية الطلاق؟
قدام المحكمة الابتدائية مش ضروري، أما قدام محكمة الاستئناف والتعقيب لازمك محامي.
نحب نعرف شنو هي النتائج القانونية للطلاق؟
نتائج الطلاق هي تسجيل الطلاق بمضمون ولادة الطرفين، نفقة المرأة، حضانة الأبناء ونفقتهم، ومنحة السكن، هي نتائج مشتركة لكل أنواع الطلاق. والطلاق بالتراضي ما عندوش نتائج أخرى، أما فما نتائج خاصة بالطلاق للضرر ونتائج بالطلاق إنشاء.
فيش تتمثل نتائج الطلاق للضرر؟
الطرف المضر اللي طلب الطلاق عنده الحق في طلب تعويض على الضرر المادي أو المعنوي.
قديش قيمة هالتعويض؟
القاضي هو اللي يقدر قيمة الضرر بالاعتماد على الأدلة اللي متوفرة عنده وعلى الحالة المادية للطرف اللي تسبب في الضرر.
والطلاق إنشاء عنده نتائج أخرى مختلفة؟
إيه نعم، الطرف اللي طلب الطلاق بصفة منفردة يلزم يدفع تعويض مادي وتعويض معنوي للطرف الآخر.
وفما فرق بين الزوج والزوجة؟
أي فما فرق. إذا كان الزوج هو اللي طلب طلاق إنشاء يدفع التعويض المادي للزوجة في شكل شهرية تأخذها بعد ما تفوت مدة العدة، وقيمتها حسب مستوى عيشها في ظل الحياة الزوجية بما في ذلك المسكن.
قديش يقع طليقها يدفع في الشهرية؟
المرأة المطلقة تقعد تاخذ في النفقة حتى تعرس من جديد.
وكيف يتوفى طليقها؟
في الحالة هذه تقعد النفقة دين من ديون التركة. أما يمكن للزوجة المطلقة باش تطلب هالتعويض عن ضررها المادي والمعنوي في شكل رأس مال تاخذه مرة واحدة في عوض الجراية العمرية. أما إذا كانت المرأة تخدم، المحاكم التونسية تحكم عادة بالتعويض في شكل رأس مال. أما إذا كان طلب الطلاق إنشاء من طرف الزوجة، الراجل عنده الحق فقط في التعويض المعنوي، وما خيرش من التوافق بين الزوجين من غير ما يوصلوا للطلاق.
الراجل اللي عاد يحب يصرف عليا لا على صغاره، وانا حرت ما عرفتش ايش باش نعمل.
القانون والعادة والعرف يلزم الراجل باش يصرف على زوجته، والمصاريف هذه تتسمى النفقة.
يعني المرأة بركة تستحق النفقة؟
لا، اللي يستحقوا النفقة هما الزوجة مادامها قايمة بواجباتها الزوجية وما هيش ناشز، المرأة المطلقة حتى توفى العدة أي 3 شهور بعد حكم الطلاق، المرأة الحبلة حتى لو كانت مطلقة عندها الحق في النفقة حتى تولد، أما مش أكثر من 10 شهور. المرأة اللي راجلها توفى تاخذ نفقتها لمدة 4 شهور و10 أيام بعد وفاة زوجها. وهنا يقول قايل كي راجلها توفى شكون باش يعطيها النفقة؟ تولي تاخذ نفقة من تركة راجلها. والراجل زاده يلزمه يصرف على أولاده حتى سن الرشد اللي هم 18 سنة، ولا حتى يكملوا قرايتهم أما من غير ما يفوتوا سن 25 سنة. والبنات حتى الزواج ولا حتى يخدموا. البو يلزم يصرف زاده على أولاده اللي عندهم إعاقة، وعلى الأبناء اللي ثبت النسب متاعهم وخذاو اسمه. الأقارب زاده اللي هما جدود، حتى جد الجد من جهة الأب وحتى الجد من جهة الأم، على شرط يكونوا فقراء، ويكون اللي مطالب باش يعطي النفقة في حالة مادية باهية ومش محتاج.
باهي، وكيف اللي ملزم بالنفقة ما يحبش يعطيها؟
في الحالة هذه تنجم ترفع قضية في النفقة عند محكمة الناحية، وهي المختصة في قضايا النفقة.
وكيفاش نرفع قضية؟
قدم عريض الدعوة لكتابة المحكمة اللي تقوم بتعيين جلسة وتستدعي المطلوب بخلاص النفقة في ظرف 3 أيام.
فما أوراق يلزم نقدمها مع العريضة؟
طبعا، وهي مستندات تتمثل بالنسبة للزوجة في الصداق ولا شهادة في الزواج ومضمون ولادة متاعها ومتاع راجلها. بالنسبة للأبناء مضمون ولادة وشهادة في التعليم وشهادة في الإعاقة إذا كانوا معوقين. والوالدين والجدود مضمون ولادة وشهادة عجز أو شهادة فقر.
شنية المصاريف اللي تشملها النفقة وقديش مقدارها؟
النفقة تشمل الأكل واللباس والعلاج والدراسة وكل ما تعتبره العادة والعرف من مستلزمات العيش الضرورية، والقاضي هو اللي يقدر قيمة النفقة حسب الوضعية المالية للمطالب بخلاصها.
يمكنش طلب زيادة ولا تنقيص في النفقة؟
أي، يلزمك تعمل قضية في تعديل النفقة عند المحكمة اللي حكمت بها. اللي عنده الحق في النفقة باش يطلب الزيادة إذا كانت بدلت حاجة في حياته كيما مرض، دراسة، ولا حالته المادية زادت تدهورت. واللي ملزم بالنفقة ينجم يطلب التنقيص من قيمتها إذا كانت حالته المادية ما عادش تسمح له باش يعطي المبلغ المطلوب، مثلا ما عادش يخدم ولا فلس.
يمكنش إيقاف تنفيذ حكم النفقة؟
لا، حكم النفقة ما يمكنش إيقافه حتى في حالة الاستئناف، أما يمكن إيقاف مفعوله إذا ثبت مثلا اللي الزوجة ناشز، وإلا إذا الحالة المادية للوالدين تحسنت، وإلا إذا الملزم بالنفقة ما عادش ينجم يعطيها.
أي، وش معناتها زوجة ناشز؟
هي الزوجة اللي ما تقومش بواجباتها الزوجية.
وقتاش يلزم تنفيذ حكم النفقة؟
حالا بعد ما يصدر الحكم.
وإذا رفض المطلوب باش يعطي النفقة؟
اللي يستحق النفقة ينجم يعمل عقلة على شهرية المطلوب إذا كان موظف ولا أجير.
واللي ما يعطيش النفقة شنو عقابه؟
العقاب هو بين 3 شهور وعام حبس، وخطية من 100 دينار ل1000 دينار. ومن الأحسن كل واحد يقوم بواجباته من غير قضايا.
فما ولاد كبار يعملوا في الحس بحذا داري في الليل مأخر، ما خلونيش نرقد، كلمتهم سبوني وزيد ولاو يرميوا في الحجر على شبابك داري، ما عرفتش ايش باش نعمل معاهم.
سهل ياسر، القانون التونسي عطاه الحق لكل واحد كان ضحية اعتداء مادي أو معنوي باش يقدم شكاية ضد اللي تعدى عليه.
فما معلومات لازمها تكون موجودة بالشكاية؟
بطبيعة الحال، والمعلومات اللازمة هي اسمك بصفتك الشاكي، جنسيتك، عنوانك، وين تسكن ولا عنوان آخر كيما عنوان خدمتك، اسم اللي باش تشكي بيه بالكامل، عنوان مسكنه بالكامل، وأي معلومة أخرى تعرفها عليه كيما وين يخدم باش تعاون مركز الأمن في الأبحاث اللي باش يعملها. ويلزم شكاية تذكر فيها لشكون باش تقدمها، أي الجهة المختصة كيما السيد وكيل الجمهورية بالمحكمة الابتدائية بقفصة ولا بأريانا ولا بالكاف. ولازم تشمل الشكاية تفاصيل العمل اللي سبب لك مضرة كيما عنف جسدي، سب، تحايل. ولازمك تذكر في نص الشكاية الأدلة اللي عندك باش تدعم أقوالك كيما شهادة طبية أو شهادة شهود. وما تنساش باش تصح في آخر الشكاية. ورد بالك يلزم الشكاية تكون واضحة ومختصرة وما تفوتش صفحتين.
واضح، أما وين نقدم الشكاية متاعي؟
تعمل منها نسختين مع نسخة من بطاقة التعريف الوطنية متاعك والحجج والأدلة اللي ذكرتهم في شكايتك كيما شهادة طبية، وتقدمهم عند مكتب الضبط الخاص بالشكايات بالمحكمة المختصة اللي يرجع لك نسخة عليها طابعة مكتب الضبط ونومر الشكاية باش تنجم تتبعها.
كيفاش نتبع شكايتي باش نعرفها وين وصلت؟
تنجم تتبعها عند مكتب الإرشاد في المحكمة اللي قدمت فيها شكايتك، أما يلزمك تعطي للكاتب عدد الشكاية، وهكاك ينجم يعطيك المعلومات اللي تهم شكايتك كيما إذا ما زالت في البحث عند مركز الأمن وإلا تعينت فيها قضية وتحدد جلسة. وتنجم زادة تتصل بخلية الفصل السريع في القضايا الجزائية بالاعتماد على الاستدعاء اللي سلمهولك عون الضابطة العدلية.
وقديش تقعد الشكاية حتى نعرف نتيجتها؟
ينجم نضر في شكايتك يطول. أما أنت يلزمك من فترة لأخرى تقوم بالتذكير بشكايتك في قسم الضبط باش يتم التسريع في البحث، وما فيها باس كان نتفاهموا بالسياسة قبل ما نتلزوا باش نشكيو.
سمعتش بصاحبنا الموقوف بتهمة فساد مالي، تيهاو سيبوه.
كيفاش؟ السيد هذا معروف بالفساد.
أكيد فما شكون تدخل باش يسيبوه.
مش معقول الأحكام المسبقة، القاضي مستقل ومحايد وما يصدر أحكامه إلا بعد التثبت من الأدلة المادية المقدمة ليه.
ما لفسر كيفاش حكم بعدم سماع الدعوة في القضية والسيد معروف فساده.
القاضي يصدر الأحكام وفقا للقانون وعلى أساس الأدلة الواقعية والحجج القانونية اللي قدموها أطراف القضية ولا محاماهم باش يثبتوا حقهم أو براءتهم.
أنا شفت لي صفحات التواصل الاجتماعي خرجت وثائق
Please, we are inviting the guests to regain the seats allocated to each of them personally. We shall resume the proceedings of the closing event for the improvement of court administration in Tunisia. Mr. Bassem. We shall resume the proceedings for the closing event for the program for the improvement of court administration in Tunisia. In this session, we will introduce 4 themes. The first one is about the internal management and organization of the courts. The second topic about relationship with the litigants. The third chapter about file management, and the fourth topic about digitalization. The first topic will be about a general introduction by Mr. Besmejbeli, an officer, program officer in NCC, about good practices, innovation in this regard. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to really greet the heads and chief justices of pilot judges, the representatives of the Ministry of Justice, the representatives of INL within the State Department of the United States of America. Greetings to the ICT technicians within the courts, and to all those who are present and to those who are attending and who has achieved a lot and who could not make it due to the health circumstances that constrained attendance to a limited number. I will start where the program officer stopped, whereby we heard about the accomplishments made. I will focus in my presentation on the aspect pertaining to reforms, to innovation and the spirit of initiative, the aspect pertaining to cooperation and experience sharing within all the courts. Our journey started since 2016 in June through the field visits where we delved into the internal sides of courts. We visited the offices of judges, clerical staff, the archive offices and courtrooms. Our task was based on evaluation so that later we could design and devise the objectives and the procedures that need to be undertaken to improve courts in keeping with the plan we set out for this program. In fact, we surprised our pilot courts by insisting on monitoring these courts on a monthly basis. But we were surprised as NCSC team by the great welcome and patience exhibited and the willingness to change. And we were surprised by judges, clerk officers, and who were like a family and who welcomed us with open arms to help us achieve the objectives of our program throughout 5 years. The key words that characterize this program and that have been previously mentioned by the various speakers in this closing event. But I'd like to reiterate and focus on the reforms, because reforms, after conducting all the field visits, we have come to realize certain shortcomings sustained by certain courts, and we tried in association with the court officers to come up with the solutions and to resolve these shortcomings. I will focus on 2 levels in my paper regarding reform in order to bring the pieces of all the work done. The 2 levels, the first level covers the courts from within. What I mean by that, the way we assisted courts with administrative work, the management of court hearings, the management of files, as is the case for the rapporteur judge, to provide international expertise in terms of archiving in keeping with international standards, and adopting these systems in our Tunisian court system. And then the digitization of administration, helping clerical staff to acquire the necessary skills to face developments. We've discovered through our field visits, and we concluded that the clerical staff are working, relying on paper and on simple ICT tools like Word. Through this program, we tried to upgrade this manual system through digitization to reach a high level of digitization through the use of Excel system, especially with statistical reports, because the clerical staff is the backbone and one of the main bases of the court. So we tried through the training programs on ICT to lay the foundation for digital transition in keeping with the Tunisian policy in this regard, which is designed to achieve full digitalization of all courts nationwide. That's why we provided training for 608 clerical staffs in pilot courts, and we consolidated this training with the ICT manuals that help clerical staff to reinforce the skills acquired in preparation to get rid of paperwork and to substitute it by modern technology, in addition to procedural manuals designed for new clerical staff that lack experience in facing the huge backlog of files. The third topic of these reforms pertain to the improvement of the way we deal with the citizens. We know that the concern for the judges and the clerical staff is to ensure we have perfect services for the citizens, to enhance public trust in the Tunisian courts, because justice is the basis for development, and we cannot speak about effective justice unless we use modern techniques that ensure pilot services for all the litigants. We tried through the program for the improvement of courts to set out and devise a communicative program for the litigants to ensure that citizens get closer to the courts through the legal counselor, by providing a manual for the litigants, in a user-friendly manual that enables the litigants to come to grips with the procedures that do not require representation by lawyers. We have managed to train about 24 clerical staff about communication skills. As you all know, that the level of pressure has augmented, and there's a lot of nervousness dealing with the clerical staff, and therefore we try to train the clerical staff to self-control and to provide services in the best optimal conditions, even if we are dealing with pressure-based litigations. With regards to the improvement of courts program, the second key to this program is innovation and to encourage initiatives. Among our options, we provided logistical and technical assistance, and the main outcome that we came to after 5 years of work is that the Tunisian courts, despite their different levels, are full of innovative skills and capabilities and potential that require a little bit of incitement, belief in their capabilities, in order to come up with innovative solutions for problems that we deem to be impossible in the outset and that require huge resources. But thanks to the great potential that we picked inside the courts, the solution is now possible. With the best means available, we came up with powerful, simple and effective recommendations and solutions. That within NCSC teamwork, this required belief in this potential and to give opportunity to this ICT staff and technicians and clerical staff to practice and to put into practice their potential. This was only possible through, thanks to the cooperation of the Ministry of Justice with all of its departments, the archival department, the General Inspectorate that drafted many of the procedural manuals that facilitated the work of newly hired clerical staff. All of these factors also helped to really recognize the great potential of ICT staff and clerical staff, hence the belief that reform is possible relying on Tunisian staff 100%. The third key to our program is cooperation and partnership. The partnership and sharing of success stories between courts. The representative of the courts highlighted the best practices and solutions to overcome all of the obstacles. One of the examples of good communication between courts, we can refer to the ongoing training program which started at the Appellate Court of Gafsa, and after collaboration between the Gafsa Appellate Court and the El-Kef Appellate Court, both courts provided their first experience, and Ms. Fadla Hamada developed this experience through the holding of seminars. She will dwell on that later regarding her experience with the El-Kef Appellate Court. The crisis that Tunisia has been through, like strikes, like the corona pandemic that adversely impacted the due progress of the justice system, all of these crises made it necessary for courts to come up with innovative solutions in order to overcome these challenges and to resolve these issues. We, as a NCSC program for the support of court administration, we stage a training program for the management of these crises and threats that included 48 participants from the Ministry of Justice, judges and clerical staff at the end of the seminar. And as is usual from the Gafsa Appellate Court, we this court set up a unit within the court to manage crisis, and we hope that this experience will be disseminated to other courts. Before I hand over to the Appellate Gafsa Court representative, I'd like to say that our program achieved 88% of our objectives, but some objectives are still in the pipeline due to the limited time and to certain circumstances, but we shall continue the journey, as all the Chief Justices are fully aware of that. We shall achieve all of our objectives. Our hope is to continue on the path, because people may go away, but courts remain. We hope that our program may have also contributed to the spirit of change, and we count on you to also continue on this path to ensure sustainability for our work. I invite the representative of the Appellate Court of Gafsa to dwell on the crisis management system that has been set up in the Gafsa Appellate Court.
Thank you very much. Before we start the presentation, we wanted to extend our thanks to the NCSC in its capacity of pilot court. It was a very interesting initiative, and our court benefited from it. On our capacity of court of appeal, we had some first initiatives to archive the documents, and this was done by our specialists in this field, and we succeeded in doing that, and this was disseminated to other courts. Then the second second initiative is the monthly report through collecting data by the use of the Excel, and we equally succeeded in this area, and hopefully it will be disseminated to other courts. Therefore, we need to be thankful to the people who helped us and who came to our courts, and I'd like to pay them tribute for what they have done. So to give you an idea about the appellate court, it includes the court of first instance in Gafsa and in Tozer. These district courts refer to our appellate court, and I think that this is a judicial position, because we are an area neighboring the Algerian border. We therefore include the large part of the Tunisian Sahara, which is a space which requires from the Tunisian state different treatment, because it's a transitional area, because it's a mountain chain. It is the nest of terrorism, and therefore it has an impact on our work in court. Sometimes we face a crisis where you are working, and we know when there are some terrorist leadership with whom we deal in the mountains of Gafsa, we will understand the situation prevailing in our region. The first people in charge of the courts, before setting up this crisis unit, were working on the basis of personal efforts. Every time there is a crisis and impedes the work, the effort was done on a personal basis. The judges were not working within a team which specializes in crisis management. When we speak about a crisis, we speak about the difficulty which may differ. It's not really of the same category or of the same type. It could be security difficulty, health security, technical difficulty, or it can be a social difficulty. The litigant who come to the court of Gafsa will require good quality services. Thanks to God, the staff working in these courts are personnel, capable personnel. This is not to make the eulogy of ourselves, but to say that people working with us in this district, and due to the training that they received, can now solve and work on the crisis cases that we may meet. So these difficulties have actually evolved, especially after the pandemic that the country is facing. But before setting up the crisis unit, we used the memoranda received from the ministry, or the memoranda received from the High Judicial Council, which determines the path to follow to ensure a good health situation in this country, so that you can provide good services that are required from you. In the beginning, we started to work on the basis of what we know, and thanks to God, we succeeded. There was no delay of the hearing sessions. The litigant, when they come to the court, they receive the service that they need, and things were working in a good way or properly. And following the good training that we received within this crisis unit, we took the decision that at the level of the appellate court, we should set up this crisis unit consisting of the following people. The people, or the members of this unit, must be people who can assess the difficulty that they are facing, and must take the necessary decision, the adequate decision at the opportune time. And then he shouldn't take a decision and then take another decision to make up for the wrong decision taken in the first place. And therefore, this unit consisted of the first people in charge of the courts, the first president, the public prosecutor, and we also thought that they might be absent sometimes because of health condition. So we had the deputy president of the court and the deputy prosecutor. And therefore, since we are not working by ourselves in our capacity of judges, but we have administrative staff, we deal and work with other people, the police stations, and in the courts, and within the framework of our court, we have the chief clerk, represented by 2 deputies, 2 assistants who is managers or consultant manager, people who have seniority, people who have necessary expertise, and who can take the appropriate decision at the appropriate time to try to solve the crisis and ensure the continuity of the work. And therefore, we equally had technicians, because we are not working by ourselves only. We have highly trained technicians, and fortunately we set up this crisis unit, and we always take into consideration the memoranda which we receive from the ministries and from the the High Judicial Council to ensure the continuity of the hearing sessions. And thanks to God, we have succeeded. So far, we don't have any stumbling block, and this can help you succeed. You must know the legal and administrative framework. You must know when to value the efforts made by people, and know when you need to work side by side with these people and not leave them alone. And give the right job to the right people. You have to be next to them to help them. So far, we've been working normally, and each one has his prerogatives, and the first president can actually reduce the difficulty that we are facing. We resort also to the health centers. We resort to the police stations and use their services. The aim is to make sure we reach the sought results. Since we have succeeded at the appellate court, we will try to disseminate it and to extend it to other courts to overcome any crisis, any potential crisis. And this is what I want to say. I want to thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As we said earlier, enhancing cooperation between courts is a key focus. I would like to invite Judge Hamada to share the experience of the Court of El Kaf. Honorable Director of the National Center, NCIS, the General Inspector, the heads and presidents of the model courts, the IT experts, dear guests, I would like to talk today about the Court of Appeals of El Kaf as a model court. The court has been included in the Improving Court Administration Tunisia program since 2016, and since then we have taken advantage from different training programs. It should be noted that the choice of programs has taken into account the needs of the clerks under the supervision of the managers of the court, in proportion with the specific characteristics and the specific needs and weaknesses of the court itself, and that requires some work to be done. This has led to establishing trust bridges between the different employees at the court with our partners. This program has also provided support in terms of the IT equipment and scanners and other types of equipment, which has contributed to the digitization of the justice system there. Regarding the training programs, some of these programs aim to build the capacities of the clerks and the departments in which they work, and another aspect of the training programs has been the digitization of the administration. Regarding the capacity building of clerks, they have received training on efficient communication tools and skills in order to improve these services and guidance to those who benefit from the services of the court. This has made it possible to have better access to justice. This has included, for example, how to deal with the people seeking to receive services and how to manage all the fatigue that is associated with the work burden and other communication skills. The clerks have also received training on procedures. This training has come as a result of the fact that the High Magistrate Institute has not been able to provide that kind of training, and because there is a lack of a clear strategy to decentralize training efforts, because it is not everyone that clerks find it difficult to travel to the capital to receive training. This has been done under the auspices of NCSC and AILAC. Together with our partners, seminars have been organized for the benefit of the clerks. This has come as one of the outcomes of the experience of the model court of Gafsa. So we organized seminars with the presence of the first president of the Court of Appeals of Gafsa. The themes that we dealt with have targeted the weaknesses of the clerk services. What was special about those seminars, including the fact that the speakers were clerks, is that they brought together the judges and the administrative staff, which strengthened the ties between the various components of the judiciary. 3 training sessions were held, the first of which focused on the indictment chamber, second on imprisonment, and the third on serving penal sentences. After each of these sessions, a number of clerks were selected in order to benefit from the training, and many of the clerks working in the Court of Appeals of El-Kaf were reintroduced into the hearings, and they served as clerks during the hearings. Regarding archives, the space dedicated to archives was fitted out with shelves, and we used a new method to manage the archives, and we also dedicated space to store the material and the goods that have been seized. We have also delivered training in terms of IT so that their daily work in the courts could be improved, whether in civil matters or penal matters. This included guidance. There was also a focus on the digitization of reports besides the paper reports that still exist. Finally, the clerks have received training on inputting text during keying during the hearings and the direct and real-time supervision of the head of the chamber. This experience has received wide attention from the clerks, and we were able to key all the proceedings and to digitize them. In reality, this has been a great experience. Nonetheless, we would like to express some remarks by way of evaluation. Now I'm going to embark on some critical comments so that we take the entire program to a safe shore. We need perhaps to pause a little bit to evaluate and assess the work that has been done so far. Regarding the monthly report system, we think that we need to work more on the credibility of the information contained therein and to include more data and more information. For example, concerning that additional information, the activity of the archives department, the activity related to delivering the sentence certificates, the explanatory texts, and so many other aspects. Well, you know that the monthly report should be a transparent document that reflects accurately all the work done by the clerks department and all the work done at the court. This is the first step towards reforming the entire system. Regarding keying, the keying system has been established thanks to an exceptional effort for which we thank our partners. This has been done in a very short time by the managers of the program. However, this does not replace the original system because the clerks, after keying the proceedings of the court, they have to do this again in the system, input that into the system, and maybe if we do not standardize the two systems and unify them, we're going to fall into maybe this double work. I think that we need also to leverage this keying during the hearing to alleviate the bureaucratic burden on the clerks. Finally, I would like to commend this very positive cooperation that has been established between the Ministry of Justice and CIC. This has left a very good impact on the performance of the courts and on reforming the judiciary in Tunisia. Perhaps this experience, which is the first of its kind, which has been dedicated to the court staff and the clerks, could be the first step into a long process towards more comprehensive reforms of the judiciary, so that we could reach a better and more effective judiciary. Of course, we need to embark on those very deep reforms on various levels, because you all know that the legislative framework today does not respond properly to the needs expressed by the people at this stage. And at the same time, the reference texts are old and sometimes contradictory and fragmented. Finally, I would like, in my own name and on behalf of the clerks of the Court of Appeals of El-Kaf, to thank all of you who have contributed to the success of the Improving Court Administration in Tunisia program. Thank you very much. Yes, maybe one of the most axes that we have worked on as NCSE is to improve the relationship between the courts and the litigants. I give the floor now to Basma Ben Abid, the NCSE coordinator of the national program, to talk more about this. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome everyone to this event, including those who are following us on YouTube. Regarding the relationship with the litigants, you know that litigants need the information regarding the judicial procedures, and they want people to communicate with them, showing respect at the same time, and also to ensure equity and fairness. There are tools that must exist to that end, and that's what NCSE has tried to do through its programs. We have printed a number of material, including guides regarding the jurisdictions of the courts, the deadlines, and some other procedures regarding the deadlines for appeals and the deadlines for cassation. 6 leaflets have been printed out also regarding the filing complaints, filing also alimony cases, and divorce, as well as other issues and topics. We have updated the judicial map, and we also prepared a guide related to a chart of the user of the court system. We have also prepared 10 short documentaries to sensitize people as to the most effective course of justice, including documentaries on the stakeholders, on legal aid, on fighting violence against women. The topics has been chosen following a survey that we carried out in 2017 with the litigants in the model courts. We tried to identify those challenges and difficulties that they face, and we focused on those cases which do not require representation by a lawyer, at least in the first tier courts, and we used simple language. Besides raising awareness of some key concepts that could, if understood properly, facilitate access to justice, those tools were aimed at easing the tension on clerks who have to manage a very heavy workload every day. We also focused on improving communication channels in the model courts. So we focused in some training sessions on those skills, 270 clerks and court staff, 99 men and 168 women took part in those sessions. The aim is to improve the communication skills. Also, we train them on how to provide guidance in an easy manner. It was a blended type of learning with theoretical and practical aspects. The program aimed also to improve the relationship with the people who seek the services of the court, and we introduced a ticket system in two of the model courts, including Riyadh and El-Kaf, and the same applies to the court of Benzart and another court where this ticket system was introduced also. And the program enhanced the services related to providing legal guidance, and we designed and produced a guide based on which we developed 6 training programs, during which we discussed the methodology and content of the guide, after which the guide was ready. The Inspectorate General of the Ministry of Justice reviewed the guide before it was endorsed. The program also organized 2 training sessions on the techniques for communication and guidance. 20 representatives of the public prosecutor services took part in this program. Mr. Meher Krishan, who is the representative of the Court of El-Kaf, will give more information about this program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I would like to hail all the supervisors of this program, all the speakers. I would like to hail all our colleagues here present and employees in the courts and everybody who contributed to the success of this program to support the work of the Tunisian courts. I am very glad to speak to you shortly about the adherence of the El-Kaf court in this program, which concerns the orientation judge, a program implemented about 3 years ago, and 3 workshops have been implemented consequently. Orientation is divided in 3 parts. Before dealing with the court, it's an orientation session, and then orientation after the orientation to the litigants, wondering about the delays of their cases, to explain the process and to explain the outcome of their cases. The aim is to facilitate communication between the litigants and judges, and the workshops facilitated the procedures of access to the judicial system to make sure that the litigants obtain the services that they require. However, because of the pandemic prevailing now, the decision of the High Council, Judicial Council, to reduce the daily number of people and the flow of people to courts, the program of the orientation judge has witnessed this year, and in the light of the third situation, has witnessed a reduction of activities due to the health precautions that have to be taken to reduce the flow of litigants to courts. However, the institution of the orientation judge in El-Kaf and which falls under the umbrella of the public prosecutor. And the assistants of public prosecutors have facilitated information to litigants with regard to procedural legal procedures. However, when the institution of the orientation judge was implemented, it was actually it became the responsibility of the judges who have maybe certain experience and who are compelled to provide orientation about civil cases, labor cases, individual and penal cases, and sometimes this include procedures concern the appeal and deadlines of appeal. And when we examined the situation carefully, we noticed that 90% of the orientation was sound orientation, and which led to facilitating the information and simplifying the information presented to the litigants, especially the procedural. However, sometimes the orientation may be unsound due to the lack of knowledge of the judge, who has worked only for 3 or 4% as an assistant to the public prosecutor, and this lead to providing inaccurate orientation, which leads to either failure or loss of time, or not meeting the deadlines to appeal. So, in the first instance, court of Le Kef, and following the principle that the freedom of speech, not to leave any written formula or form of the orientation sessions. We only have a file with the name of the person asking for orientation, the topic of the orientation, but we do not really mention or leave any written form or proof of the orientation until we have a legal description of this work. Is it administrative or legal work? If the orientation is wrong or inaccurate and led to the loss of a right, will this lead to a prejudice, and will this prejudice can lead to administrative case, and therefore we opted that for the methodology that the orientation is not written in any way whatsoever, but we only indicate the name for the sake of statistics. However, this institution, the institution of the orientation judge in the first instance court of Le Kef, led to simplification of procedures. It reduced the gap between the litigants and the courts, and we would like to call upon you to ensure the success of this institution by supporting it with the IT, which will facilitate the work of the orientation judge, and to finalize the manual or the litigant manual, which can be used by litigants to know how to reach their goals and their rights in the easiest way and the quickest way. And thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Honorable Public Prosecutor. And within the framework, there are some initiatives to facilitate communication between the litigants and the courts. We can speak about the Ariana first instance to speak about communication and publication of hearing session outcomes. I would like to give the floor to the public prosecutor, Mr. Hedi Mchar, to speak about it. Thank you, everybody. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we have done at the Ariana first instance court to modernize our work at the public prosecution level, at the different at the level of different chambers. Our work is closely interrelated. We started from the shortcomings of our working methodology, which we followed in the past, and we all know that, for example, the publication of the hearing session took a long time, and now we are using a more modern methodology. This saved us a lot of time and gave us a dashboard to follow, to assess the work of the courts and to assess the work of the public prosecutor. So we divided our work to 14 units. These 14 units are active according or are working in order to settle dispute rapidly, and this will depend on the type of the litigation. We have two types of litigation. One concerns the economic crimes, and this unit was an economic unit of rapid settlement. We find this concerns the checks without provisions, and we found economic crimes and other crimes concerning fishery and forestry. The second type is family crimes, all the crimes, for example, neglect of children, as well as violence against family members and the family and the children. These units were set up according to the type of the dispute. As I said, there are two. This led to tangible results, and the other units were divided according about the work received or need to be done and that have been settled. And realized we have also another unit about the disputes, about complaints received either by the litigant or his lawyer. This is what we call complaints about quick settlement, and he will go to the public to place indicated by the public prosecutor. And now we have some petitions which were given in the morning, and in the afternoon the case was published in the courts.
With regards to the decisions handed down and enforcement issues, we have a unit for expeditious disposition of cases, which is tasked with urgent and decisions for immediate effect, and we have check decisions that are dealt with by this unit. This unit also enforces prison sentences. The other units are a set of units that have been divided in view of the geographical distance that is on the basis of districts. We have six districts, each of which has its own unit. If we rule out the nature of the dispute, be it family or economic dispute, the incoming cases for the public prosecution or the decision rendered by the courts, we have 4 units. The rest are territorial units, and they adjudicate everything except the cases that are not under its jurisdiction. The result is that we believe that the result is excellent, because in the trial court of Ariana we have something like release or detention, because the unit for flagrante delicto oversees the detainees who have been detained by the public prosecution. And if we rule out this, we find ourselves dealing with other criminal litigations that are settled in a timely fashion. So there is a subpoena, and once they appear before the unit, they are assisted by the vice president of the unit. If there's a need to detain the person, if there's a referral, that person is referred, or to give him the subpoena to appear before the court when the time comes, and to avoid any absentia decisions. This way, we had no other choice but to make recourse to this method. To reach this level, we had to rely on the old transcripts at the level of the law enforcement and pre-trial officers, and we dealt only with the new cases. We have two types of cases, either to be admitted based on the unit of expeditious disposition or by the units of pre-trial officers. Those who are admitted by us are dealt immediately, and those who are admitted by the pre-trial office, they are admitted for the next day based on the register that is prepared to avoid any piling up of cases. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Thank you, Mr. Public Prosecutor. We move on to the third topic about case and file management. I now refer to Mrs. Besma Jbeli. In response to what's been mentioned by the Public Prosecutor of the Trial Court of Ariana, and in view of on this ongoing modernization, upgrading of courts, the Susa II court adopted the typing of the court decisions within the court hearings. This experience was a pioneer that dealt with the arbiter circuit and the prud'homme circuit with more than 60 files, and then they were joined by the civil circuits. Mrs. Saida Shbili will present the mechanisms used in this experience, the challenges, and the modus operandi, and the impact on the other side. And with regard to the due management of cases and files, we have delved into the code of commercial and civil proceedings, and we concluded that the task of the rapporteur judge is one of the main important tasks that saves time for the judges, especially for complex cases that require major evaluations. And therefore we had to revive this institutionalized institution within the code of commercial and civil proceedings. We suggested this to the judges concerned, and they helped us with the meetings and the workshops we managed to stage, and they drafted a manual for the rapporteur judge, and this experience was adopted in pilot courts after conducting some workshops, 3 workshops, in order to disseminate this experience for all the courts and to incite other courts to adopt it. The first workshop was held on the 29th of January in Sousse. It was followed by another one in the 5th of February in Sfax, and on the 12th of February in Tunis. The purpose is to disseminate this experience given the practical results achieved and the effective practical results. And we cannot speak about the rapporteur judge without speaking about the trial court of Bizerte that was the first incubator of such experience. It was presided by Chief Justice Habib Bannani, who took part and who coached the judges and encouraged the establishment of this plan, and that provided major results in terms of statistics and in shortening the time for the work of the judges. This experience was adopted by Mrs. Malika Zwabi as she was appointed as Chief Justice of the Trial Court of Bizerte. That's why she is going to be invited to dwell on the experience as it is achieved in the Bizerte Trial Court. I greet all the participants and all those who are following us remotely. I'm honored to introduce the trial court of Bizerte experience regarding the enforcement and the implementation of the rapporteur judge. You know, slow justice is quick injustice. That's to express the importance of case disposition without undue delay. The effective justice is the quick justice and not the hasty justice, because there's difference between quickness and hastiness. International and national legislation refer to due time and due process, considering them as the important standards for effective justice. Within this framework, the French Cassation Court insisted on the case disposition without undue delay, which is otherwise it would be offense to justice. Based on this rule, the Tunisian lawmaker based its experience on the previous case laws, and some of these experiences have not been used, but they proved to be effective, and this applies to the implementation of the rapporteur judge at the civil circuits of the trial courts of Tunis. Despite the consecration of this institution since the issuance of the Code of Civil and Criminal Procedures, it has not been implemented due to various reasons that were related to the realistic circumstances characterizing the work of the courts. And therefore, there was a need to reboost the legislation in order to be better implemented, because it has become a necessity in view of the huge incoming number of cases for the sake of due and quality expedition. The Bizerte Trial Court is a good example in this regard, as it started implementing this institution since the 2017-2018 judicial year. This experience has then been disseminated, being implemented nationwide in many courts, like the trial court of Manouba, and then in 2019 and 2020, and then the trial court of Mednin. On the 12th of February 2021, we introduced the manual of procedure of the rapporteur judge in civil and criminal proceedings in one of the hotels in Tunis. This was achieved in association between the Ministry of Justice and ILAC and the National Center for State Courts. The enforcement of this institution has become absolute necessity after the spread of the corona pandemic, because it helps the judicial work to continue with due regard to the health protocol, relieving the pressure on court hearings and ensuring distance separation. Within this framework, we will mention some of the items pertaining the implementation of this institution in the trial court of Bizerte, through pinpointing the upsides of this institution and then presenting a realistic model on how to implement this model in the trial court of Bizerte. So the upsides of using this or implementing this system of rapporteur judge. There are positive results for the rapporteur judge, and there are positive results for the civil circuit. For the first, with the implementation of this institution, we noted many upsides for the judges dealing with the case. Some of these upsides concern personal training, to have good control of the civil case, to make the judge responsible and to give the judge more trust, an opportunity to carry out judicial work, to have an in-depth knowledge of the case management, an opportunity to get acquainted with the highest number of cases, to ensure good deliberation, so judges know all the details about deliberation, to really ensure that all the basic facts are transcribed during the summary, helping judges to be able to deal with all the stakeholders like lawyers, experts, and bailiffs, to specialize in the civil proceedings, to contribute in compliance with the health protocol and to reduce in-person court hearings in order to ensure ongoing work of judicial work by reducing the cases filed. So with the implementation of this institution, there will be no call for the case, just for twice, one for the initial preparatory session and one for the deliberation. As to the positive results for the implementation of the rapporteur judge for the circuits, expeditious disposition of cases, for instance, cases for fines would take 3 or 4 months instead of 1 year. There are cases that are settled in 6 months instead of 2 years. With regard to personal cases, they are settled within 5 months instead of 3 years. To relieve the pressure of in-person court hearings, because the number of cases remain with the judge and are not filed only in the next hearing, therefore reducing the number of cases to get in-depth study and examination of the file, and therefore we can pinpoint all the shortcomings in the case and offset these shortcomings, unlike what it is the case for the cases that are not referred to the rapporteur judge, to facilitate contact and communication with experts, to reduce the distance and to avoid suspending the case for further evaluation or for further examination of facts, because all of these investigative work are done completely, and based on experience, no case was suspended. To due case assignment, because each judge will be entrusted with a given and specific case. The second aspect to the experience of the trial court of Bizerte with regard to the implementation of the rapporteur judge. As we implemented this system in the trial court of Bizerte, and with the various specific characteristics of this experience, there were challenges. Implementation, the implementation of the system is not different from the procedure used for other cases entrusted to other judges, and therefore we have to comply with the 3 stages: the preparatory stage, the exchange of briefs, and then deliberation, and then sentencing. And therefore the stages will be as follows: the pre-trial, the pre-assignment of the case, and then the stage for case assignment, and then conclusion of the proceedings, and then referral of the case to the circuits. So the first stage, the files are referred to the rapporteur judge. It is at the first filing stage. During this stage, the head of the circuits would examine whether the formalities have been complied, and then they are referred to the rapporteur judge. In case the formalities are breached, for instance, defective subpoenas or any other issues, these acts have been should be done, and then the case is referred to the rapporteur judge. Referral of the case to the rapporteur judge does not include all the cases, but cases that require further investigation, like appointment of expert for further evaluation. As an example, the cases of succession and inheritance that require appointment of property expert, and then the fines pertaining to confiscation. The rapporteur judge is entrusted with the case, and he or she has powers to carry out any investigative work. This doesn't mean disconnection with the other members of the circuit. He could consult with the head of the circuit and other colleague judges. The rapporteur judge's assignment of the case, the judge, after referral of the case to the rapporteur judge, this judge now has extensive powers to take decisions about investigative work that is needed for case disposition. These are the acts pertaining to Article 87 of the Code of Commercial and Civil Procedures. Within this context, we will refer to some of the cases entrusted and that were prepared for disposition and the different activities. After referral of the case to the rapporteur judge, he or she would examine it, examine the supporting documents, and then he may request additional supporting documents for case disposition. If the case has completed supporting documents, the judge carries out the final touches to the case. For personal rights cases, the rapporteur judge would appoint an expert in order to carry out on-site evaluation and then to notify the representatives of the two litigants. It's usually the clerical staff that does that. For cases where there is order to carry out evaluation, this evaluation is ordered on the same day when the case is filed, and therefore the case is delayed for 2 weeks pending the expert's evaluation and notification of the preparation of the case. Upon expiry of the 2 weeks, the expert is notified about the results, and then he would be ordered to start. Based on the expert evaluation, the judge would evaluate the expert evaluation to ensure its compliance with the law. It is worth noting in this regard that in the trial court of Bizerte, quite recently, we present the results of the expert evaluation to the civil circuit to double check whether there are material flaws. If the evaluation is correct, there's no issue. Otherwise, it will be resent to the expert for re-evaluation and or to carry out an additional expertise. Then there will be a communication with both litigants. I'm referring to the experience in all of its details, how the rapporteur judge proceeds, and then we will notify the both litigants to get a copy of the evaluation, and then they will proceed their briefs on the evaluation, provided that their briefs are submitted in writing. Each lawyer would take a copy of the evaluation brief in order to leave a trace on the register of the court proceeding. So there's a notification specifying all the details regarding the that the report has been served to the different parties. After the comments on the outcome of the evaluation, the rapporteur judge would read both briefs of both litigants. In case there is further evaluation, he would order further evaluation. As to the conclusion of investigation, once the rapporteur judge has finished investigation, he would submit a report in which he refers to all investigative work without expressing his or her opinion. And unlike the rapporteur judge in property courts. With regards to the challenges, even though the institution of the rapporteur judge is very important, it is still in need for further development in view of the issues that are on the agenda, which consist in the limited resources and limited logistical resources. There is no official ICT space, and therefore we need to disseminate the upsides of this institution to all the courts nationwide due to the success it enjoyed in the Bizerte trial court by staging seminars involving all the stakeholders involved in judicial work, involving lawyers, experts, clerical staff, and by holding regional meetings with the chief justices and the regional representative of the Bar Association, representative of the evaluation and expert evaluation, in order to develop this institution to ensure that information is widely exchanged and to amend the legislation to ensure its adequacy with the requirements of the current circumstances of reality. I'd like to present my personal experience as I joined the judiciary and moved from the trial court of Gafsa to the Grumbelia trial court. I was a member of the civil circuit, and the institution of rapporteur judge was implemented. I was among those who were appointed with this task, and I was appointed to prepare the cases for disposition. Due to the corona pandemic, we need to disseminate the institution of rapporteur judge nationwide for all the courts, because it ensures sustainability of judicial work. It also ensures compliance with the health protocol, like physical distancing and others. So the recommendation is to implement this institution. Of course, this institution has been given up for some time, even though this institution is valuable and essential to fair and expeditious case disposition, because the rapporteur judge really, as soon as he is appointed for the case, he carries out all investigative work, and once the investigation is completed, he concludes with a report and refers the case without expressing his opinion in due time. And therefore, there's clear reduction of judicial time, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I give the floor now to Judge Said Ashbir, who will talk about keying, typing, court decisions, and in the hearing. In the name of Allah, my name is Saida Shbili, that's my correct name. I would like to welcome the Director of International Cooperation at the Ministry of Justice, the representatives of NCSC, and the honorable judges and clerks. I would like to welcome those following us on YouTube, and I would like also to welcome and thank the interpreters. First of all, I would like to extend my warmest thanks to the people behind this program for all their efforts to achieve the goals of this effort. I take this opportunity to extend also my greetings to all those working at the Court of Sus for their contribution to the success of the program. Before I speak about my experience in Sus 2 Court, I would like to make a couple of observations. This program has covered different topics, but I would like to highlight the fact that we can feel a new spirit and a new atmosphere that has been brought about by our new democratic experience. So the judiciary today is not just a power or a branch of the three powers, but it's also about accountability and responsibility. All of us who work in the judiciary have to make their best in order to satisfy the needs of the citizens and the litigants. One of the questions that we ask ourselves every day is whether the litigants are satisfied or not. This is a question that we never asked ourselves before. This new spirit consists also in the fact that compared to the past, where no one would ask us about our opinion and about what we think are the best ways to reform the judiciary, we used just to be instructed to work. But this is a new way of thinking. This is a new spirit and a new environment. We sit together as members of the same court, judges and clerks, and we look for solutions that we propose to the organizations that are helping us in order to improve our performance. This is a very positive asset for all of us. I would like once again to seize this opportunity to thank everyone for all their collective efforts. Everyone has been keen on bringing this experience to a successful end. Now, regarding the experience in SUS 2, it wasn't just one experience. It wasn't just about typing in the hearing, but regarding the judge, there were some ups and downs, but all those who have worked with us, I would like to congratulate them on the fact that perhaps we are coping better with COVID-19, and we are perhaps back to work, and the judges are working together as a group, and they are asking questions to one another about the challenges and difficulties that they face. Their collective aim is to improve performance. This experience is something that is spelled out in the Code of Civil and Commercial Proceedings. So we have to actually implement what's in that code. Besides the first experience, we have also tackled the issues of archiving and judicial guidance and the dashboard. All these experiences have been implemented in SUS 2 with ups and downs, but I think that overall the experience has been very beneficial. Something that I would like to stress regarding these statistics, it is important that we train and incentivize the clerks who provide the information. We have to raise their awareness to the importance that should be given to the quality of the statistical data, because this data is paramount to the success of our work. Regarding SUS 2, concerning the implementation of new technologies, I think that there is no question about the need to advance along this way, because we are lagging behind, and it is very important that we leverage this new technology both for us judges and for clerks. The beginning was a little bit shy. We had two clerks, Iman and Khawla, who can type very quickly, so they were the first to start. They were courageous enough despite all the problems and challenges. And the problem was the presidents of the chambers who are used to more traditional ways of operating, and we had problems with the computers, so we shifted from desktops to laptops because it's much more convenient. We also reorganized our hearings in accordance with whether a lawyer is present or not. So we have been learning from our weaknesses and from the challenges that we had to overcome. And at the end of the day, we noted some progress, and today 4 chambers which operate in the court. I think that the only chamber that's not using this printing during the hearing is the minor crimes or misdemeanors chamber. We also rolled out this experience in the district court in Tunis, and the president of this court imposed this on the clerks. Today, all the chambers are using this new method. Mr. Munir Shturu, who is the IT officer, I would like to thank him personally because he has contributed to improving this experience, and this new system is being used to create new apps to facilitate communication between the different stakeholders in the litigation process. This is a drop in the ocean, true, but I would like to call upon the Ministry of Justice to enhance the capacities of everyone in the court so that we no longer waste our very valuable time. One more thing that I would like to request from the Ministry of Justice is the following. I think that these experiences have been a little bit fragmented. We need a vision with short-term and long-term goals. And it is very important that we start implementation across all courts in Tunisia. Typing is something that we need to use. The problem is that because some courts are lagging behind, many other programs are not functioning well. One more point, a last one perhaps, that is causing me some concern is change. We are trying to bring about some significant changes in the way we do things and our vision of this change. And change should be consistent and should be based on a clear methodology and not done in a random manner. So we have to think about how we can think strategically in order to change the way judges operate and the way everyone else in the court operates. Thank you very much.
She insisted on the importance of the digitalization of the reports. I would like to call upon Mr. Basma Ben Hamid to speak about this. Basma, you have the floor. With regard to digitalization, we cannot speak today about improving the courts without the digitalization. And we cannot speak about digitalization of the courts without working on improving the skills of the court clerks and the use of the computer in order to facilitate administrative work and to make it more accurate. And therefore, the program carried out the following activities. First of all, we supervised the preparation of a manual on how to use the computer and another electronic manual. And here we have to highly value the positive contribution of the IT technicians at the pilot courts in the preparation of these manuals, who have become now important working tools for the clerks and employees. And the program has equally evaluated the skills of the clerk with regard to the use of the computers. In 2018, they organized 17 training sessions on the use of the computer, the use of the Excel, using the skills, the word skills. The number of participants involving clerks and employees, 608, 298 men, and the rest are women. And the IT specialists in the courts have supervised these training programs, and we have to hail their participation. We highly value also the work done at the SUS2 court, which took the initiative under Mrs. Said Esbile to implement a unit of continuous training on how to use the computer, including the IT specialists in this court and 4 clerks which have good skills when it comes to use of computer. And then they organize a teacher training, train the trainers program in the other model courts in order to enable them to acquaint themselves with the computer skills. This unit also organized several training organization in the office of Sustu Court, aiming the clerks and aiming the judges also according to their needs. This unit in 2019 trained several clerks of the neighboring courts following the request of the administration regulating the work at courts. This unit continues its work and it intervenes to help people on how to use the computer. And in the framework of digitalization equally, and in order to digitalize administrative work in the model court, this program has prepared an electronic application in order to replace the traditional working methodology. The aim is to introduce the IT technology into the courts. This was done in general collaboration with the IT department at the Ministry of Justice, as well as IT technicians and Mr. Ramzi Bsadi, the Appeal Court in Gafsa, and Mr. Basim Boualleg from the Court of Primary Instance in Tozer. And this application concerns or enables the users to access all the tables to facilitate their information keying work. It also facilitates the work in a more efficient way, and it equally allocates different rules and jobs to the people concerned. And the Ministry of Justice adopted this application and is using it now at the level of all Tunisian courts. And in the light of that, the program under the umbrella of the Ministry of Justice between 2019 and 2021 has organized 50 training courses concerning the use of this application, involving the people concerned about statistics in the lower courts, the appeal courts, and all the real estate courts. And we managed to train 760 trainees, and according to the same program, we try to assess how far they have been, how far has this application been used. We have found out that 123 courts, regardless of their competence and jurisdiction, use this application, and therefore the percentage of this application by courts is now about 85% of all courts. And now I would like to give the floor later to the public prosecutor in Tozer to speak about in more details about this application. But before that, I would like to give you an idea about the archiving application. First of all, the court improvement system program developed or worked on the archiving sector in joint collaboration with the Inspectorate of the Ministry of Justice. And we dealt with all the aspects of the archiving operation and about all the duties of archiving. It equally included another application to manage the archiving of files. This archiving application has been prepared in joint collaboration between this program and the archiving department at the Inspectorate and IT specialists, and the Court of Law Instance in Tozer and Appellate Court in Gafsa. This facilitates the search work also. It equally provides information to the archives or the location of the archived file. And now, without much ado, I'd like to give the floor to the public prosecutor of the Tozer First Instance to speak about this archiving management application. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. In the name of God, the Clement and the Merciful, I would like to thank my colleagues and I would like to share with you the experience of the TOSER experience concerning the monthly report management and the archiving management application. Actually, this concerns in the use of the IT in our world today with regard to the preparation and drafting of monthly reports and the drafting of or the archiving of the files that are sent to the local archive while waiting for transferring them to the national archive for the files that need to be transferred, and then for the deleting of other unnecessary files. With regard to the monthly report, as you all know, we used to prepare it in a manual way. Each clerk in a given chamber prepares the table, and after that you'll discuss it with the president of the court, and once they are prepared manually, they are referred to the heads of chambers to sign them, and then they are referred to the public prosecutor, and then they are referred to the general inspector and the general public prosecutor, and then another copy, manual copy. So we, all in all, we have about 5 copies. So this was curtailed and reduced into the application prepared by Mr. Fawzi Boualleg and his colleague, and in joint collaboration with the IT staff. Now, currently, if every clerk from his own office will draft his tables, they are referred to the president, and then automatically they are referred to the public inspectorate office, and then that's it. The work is finished with regard to the monthly report. This saves us 4 working days, in addition, of course, to the reduction of the dangers of transportation. And you know, if you invest in time, you save money and you save tremendous efforts. This is as far as the monthly report is concerned. Now, since every clerk has this application and has his own password, he cannot actually work on the tables of his colleagues. So this is a secure. This is a secure application, and as I said, the reports are sent to the General Inspectorate, and these reports are used for legislative purposes, for statistics, for research, and it's a very rich source which can be tapped now and which was not tapped in the past. Now, with regard to the archiving operation, which is more important maybe than the monthly report, the procedures have been archived. As you know, the archive goes through 3 phases. The active level, when we receive the document, the first document created by the court is phase number 1, and then semi-active, and then the archiving. So these are the 3 phases through which archiving operation goes through. We spoke about the digitalization of the archives in this manual. We have a manual here on how to archive the files and how to manage the archive, as I said, in joint collaboration with the Ministry of Justice and NSCSC. So if you enter the web here, the dialog box, you fill out what needs to be filled out, and then it will be referred. You can continue working on the procedures until the file is referred to the National Archive, or is referred to the destruction or the delete, the shredding level. So the archiving operation enables us what we call the reuse or of the file. I mean, which means that you can, even when it is archived, if the case is appealed against, you can actually have access to the file, and you can use the documents which are in this file. And this application, as I said, is secure. It enables us to follow the file at any time. We always have a copy, of course, in the archive, a manual copy, and we can follow the file and all its phases. We can no longer now speak about the loss of files. We can say no. This is as far as the archiving application. You can find all the details here in this manual in detail. But whether we're talking about the monthly report or the archive, this constitutes for us a platform to work remotely or to work on the future. We archive the procedures, but we would like to reach the stage where we can archive the whole file in PDF or by using the scanner or other tools. And access to it will be easy, and its use will be much easier. And I think this is not something difficult for our IT technicians in the Ministry of Justice. And I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. We'll talk now about the application for typing in the hearing. So in SUS, they have been using typing, using the word program for 2 years. Mr. Munir Jtourou from the Court of Appeals of Tunis actually designed a new application to address the shortcomings. The Court of Appeals in Tunis rolled out the application for the benefit of all the chambers. Before I give the floor to Mr. Mohamed Habib Kamel Banani, President of the District Court of Tunis, to talk about the different activities, I would like to mention that the model first instance courts in Tuzerkef and Susa have started to use this application together with the Court of Appeals in Gafsa. Now let me give the floor to the President of the Court of Appeals of Tunis. Gafsa, sorry. In the name of Allah. It is our duty as judges and as stakeholders to prepare our courts to get into the 21st century. So we are lagging behind, actually, because the century started 21 years ago. But it's better to say it now than never. This is the century of digitization. I think that our courts should keep abreast of all those new technological trends. This requires also that we change our mentalities and our modus operandi. Digitization started to be a key concern for the Ministry of Justice since 1978. However, unfortunately, we did not make key strides because of many reasons. In the District Court of Tunis, we started to type the hearing reports. The experience started in a shy manner in Benzart since 2016 in the emergency chambers, but did not continue. But today we have 14 chambers operating under the District Court of Tunis, where we use printing during the hearings. In every courtroom, there is a computer and a printer to that effect. As at yesterday, 22 22,869 reports have been printed, which shows that this is possible for all courts. Of course, it's not perhaps something easy, but based on the feedback from the clerks, we have been able to improve this experience. I think that the clerks play a very important role, as much as that role played by the IT experts. We have discussed the difficulties that the clerks have been facing, and we have been trying to draw the conclusions from that. Now, concerning the district court in Tunis, we have tried to use the printed reports to have archives that we can use. We have a secured email that we use in order to exchange with 250 lawyers the reports, the hearing reports, and all the other relevant documents are sent to the lawyers. On average, we answer 20 electronic requests every day. That was before the advent of the corona pandemic. I know that we're perhaps a little bit late. Success has been moderate. We've been successful to some extent, but I think that the real success is sustainable success, and it shouldn't be tied to specific persons. Even if individuals leave, even if technicians leave, this should become the way courts proceed in the management of the cases. We would like to serve the interests of the litigants and to make information available to them in a timely manner, and to reduce physical presence in the courtrooms using all the IT potential should perhaps serve as the first brick along this way. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President of the District Court in Tunis. Now I give the floor to Mrs. Raja Ben Sama from the International Cooperation Department of the Ministry of Justice. Thank you very much. I'll just keep it short. I would like to give a number of observations. Let me start by talking about the experience of the reporting judge. I worked as a reporting judge actually at some point, and it would have been great if we could share more thoughts about this experience. My question was, why did we abandon the experience, particularly in the courts where we have a heavy workload? You know that the reporting judge is faced with a very heavy workload. So one of the things that I focused on actually is that the entire chamber would work under the auspices of the president of the chamber. So every time a reporting judge is appointed, another hearing is scheduled. So an office hearing is assigned to the reporting judge, and another public hearing is actually scheduled. Some of the cases wouldn't require the intervention of the reporting judge because there is no need for any preparatory action. maybe on other occasions I will have the opportunity to share with you some of the lessons that we have learned from the reporting judge experience. Well, actually, we shouldn't perhaps rely too much on the reporting judge because he's just making his or her first steps and he needs some further training. The other second very interesting experience is printing during the hearings. We will work more on that at the level of the ministry. Today, I have an appointment with the representative of the Ministry of IT and Technology, and we will perhaps try to leverage the speech recognition methodology or technology. I think that judges shouldn't be scared of this move towards digitization, and one of the digital tools that we could use is speech recognition. I think that the most important asset related to this program is the preparation for this new leap into technology. I hope that we'll be able in the near future to establish the pillars of the penal chain, and that everyone will be ready to play its role. Perhaps one of the problems that we're facing is the fact that the system is operating perhaps in a slow manner. Of course, that's a problem of technology, and that's a problem also with the human resources. Generally speaking, those who are interested with this task are inspectors. I, as someone who takes care of international cooperation, I also have to take charge for this. Sometimes I wish that the private sector would take responsibility for this, and this is a real problem. I am very proud of the work done by my colleagues and by the clerks in the courts which have been involved in this program, and I think that one of the things that encouraged me in my current work at the ministry, though I'm a judge and I love working in courtrooms, is the fact that I am giving a helping hand towards improving the conditions for the work of the judiciary. I'm very proud of everyone that's working in the judiciary. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Rajab Oussama. I give the floor now to Violaine Altman, the director of NCSC, to give the final statement. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to have shared with you today in this room. I know would have liked to be more numerous, to have more magistrates, other representatives of courts, and to have more courts involved in this discussion. Fortunately, some of them are following us through YouTube, and I hope that they have managed to benefit from this exchange of ideas, and I hope that you too, during your exchange of ideas with your colleagues, you will hopefully speak about this experience and the results that you have achieved during these 5 years. Another program will come to an end on Sunday after 5 years. For many of us who attended the launching ceremony, and there are many in this room, now 5 years have elapsed and very quickly, and we are very proud of these 5 years. It's only in the beginning. Not everything has been achieved. Not all the results have become or are satisfactory. But reform is an ongoing process. We never reach the end of the road. The most important is to go forward and to try to improve things, to integrate new ideas, to use new technologies. Every year that goes by, we have new potentialities, new possibilities. Mr. Benini spoke about the 21st century, which started about a year ago. When it started, we did not have the portable mobile phone, and who in this room does not have now a mobile phone? Many access and many programs have been developed. We have 5 manuals that have been developed. 2 computer manuals also have been developed to help all the users in all courts to use computers in a sound, full-fledged way, and to know the other procedural manuals have been developed about the clerks, about district courts, the archives. Also, these are inestimable resources that can be used by these courts and other courts. Many of the resources have been exchanged. Others will be sent to the courts of first instance and to district courts. Many hours and hours and hours of work were spent training people, and this involved dozens of trainers, and we used the people working in the digital system in Tunisia, because they are the ones who know the needs of their colleagues and the tools that must be used. As for the way ahead, and as for our achievements, we enjoyed the support of people. I would like to thank those who made this program possible. I'm sorry if I forget some of them. I would like to thank our team, Amin, present with us today, who is in charge of the program activities and coordinated everybody's efforts. I would like to extend my thanks to Besma Ben Abid, Besma Jbali, and Nizar Rizgi, who have been with us since the launching of the program and largely contributed to and provided all the necessary support. Aman Isawi, Habib Borni, Iman Ben Huma, Marwan Ayed, Mohamed Ali Susi, Fathallah, Mehdi Rzig, and the other people who had joined the team during the latest years and who made this program possible. The 5 trainees who made half of the way with us and who taught us a lot and learned a lot from it. Our colleagues from Milat, Selim, Ismail Ben Khalifa, our partners, the Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Council, Mrs. Amal Quba and Raja, here present with us today, the International Cooperation Department for the advice and the follow-up, whose contribution was very important to us. People in charge of the statistical department, the archive department, the IT department, the regional directorates of the Ministry of Justice, who are part and parcel of the chain, who enabled us to test and to validate and to establish this program. And I thank you very much for everything that you have done for us. The presidents, magistrates, clerks, court clerks, employees, the Court of Appeal of Gafsa, Le Kef, Ariana, Bizerta, the Court of Le Kef, Sustu, Tozer, and the court in Tunis. I'd like to thank them all, because they have proven to us that every time we encounter a problem, there is a solution to it, and there is a possibility to innovate. Thanks to their efforts, they have laid the foundation for a more accessible, efficacious justice to meet the needs of the litigants. We'd like to thank their representatives, and all our followers who followed us on YouTube, the computer technicians, Madame Samia Belhaj, Monsieur Bassem Boualleg, Shokri Salmi, Fouad Hajala, Mohamed Dazin, Mohamed Khalai, Munir Stourou, Ramzi Ben Saad, and Wissam Ben Ammar. We'd like to thank you all for your contributions. They were a power of innovation and support, providing innovative solutions to persistent problems, and leading their colleagues on the path of digitalization. Without you, digitalization wouldn't have been made possible. The international community with which we move in collaboration and cooperation helped us. I would like to mention the European Union Twinning Program with the Ministry of Justice, which paved the way and enabled us to work on the monthly report and to work on the reporting jobs. These are initiatives that have shown positive initiatives undertaken with other courts to continue these experiences. I would like to thank UNDP for the duplication of some programs in the governorate of Medellin and all the other international programs who contributed and collaborated with us. We'd like to thank you for working with us for a better justice and more accessible justice. We'd like to thank the INL and the United States Embassy to which enabled this program to exist and who gave us their trust and confidence. To all the actors and stakeholders present here today or in remote areas, this is not the end. This is rather the starting point. I'd like to encourage you to continue to provide your solutions and to contribute to the site, this working site, to improve and to reform the judicial system in Tunisia. Thank you very much for your attention.